Today's Sunday, and I'd like to do something a little different today. Tell me if you like it or not. We've been discussing on how the globalization is ending, and because of this globalization ending, that we now have to look at countries by the five factors, right? Food, energy, technology, demographics, and security. Are you easy to attack? But that's on the geopolitical level. What about corporations? Corporations, you can't sell here, your supply chain can't send it to you. Secondly, you can't have this technology. All these new rules coming in, and now you're the CEO of a company, and you're looking out and you're going, hey, this is going to be a 15-year process. What is it going to look like at the end of the 15 years? And I can't wait to the end of the 15 years. There's an old saying by a very famous coach. It was clarity over certainty. As the CEO of a company, all right, you don't wait for certainty. You wait for clarity. Once you have clarity, you move on it, all right? And so as the CEO of a company, we don't know what we're going to look like 15 years from now. How do you make your decisions today for tomorrow? And I'm going to make it fairly easy for you. I'm going to let you be the CEO of Apple. Now, this started for me the day I saw on the internet all the people escaping in China from the Foxconn Apple plant, jumping the fence, running down the street on their bicycles and everything. And which really kind of opened up China. You know, they went about, a year and a half longer than the US or the world in being closed down. And so then they opened up after this. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. What threw me off when I saw this was that they said this factory is 250,000 people. And the thought that came to my mind, given what was going on even then, we're way worse now, with us splitting from China, was, okay, where can Apple make the phone other than China? And so I thought about it for a long time, and I really came down to there was one country where it had enough people, but they don't have the technical expertise or the infrastructure, the power grid necessary for it to be a major producer, which is India, okay? So I decided to look into this and say, all right, what's going to happen to Apple? So Apple in China is far more than the 250,000 person plant. And here's the plant here. It's in the second sentence there. It employs up to 300,000 people at its peak and currently operates around 200,000. But as you can see, there are over 5 million people employed in China as part of their supply chain. It's 187 countries. There's 1,600 factories in China, and 286 of them are manufacturing sites. They have over 5 million employees in China, with only 14,000 being direct Apple employees, where Foxconn employs between 200,000 and 300,000. Now, Apple a couple months ago said they went around and they were considering ByteDance and DeepSeek, but in the end they chose Alibaba after their talks with Baidu fell apart to put Alibaba on the Apple phone. And of course, Washington immediately reacted saying, well, this is a safety concern to the US, and so they said, we'll only do it for our Chinese phones, okay? And here's where they say it's a security concern, and they're hoping that this stops their slide in China, Apple's selling slide in China, because they're integrating Chinese software into their phone, where of course we're like, we don't want that phone here. Now look, I'm just putting this up here because as the CEO, you have to make a decision. Here's all the people, companies that work with you, from Foxconn to Pegatron to Luxshare, and what they make for Apple. And here's some of their components, from Taiwan Semiconductor to BYD, CATL, we all know them now as as car companies, but they also do technology. They came out of technology side. So here's your component supplier. Now, China has millions of workers, mostly through subcontracting, in China. And they work long hours, often 60 hours a week during peak production before iPhone launches. And the basic wages are low, $300 to $600 a month. Not a day, not a week, a month. But with overtime, they can double the earnings a month, so $600 to $1,200, all right? And Apple employs its own staff. So these are Apple employees who oversee production in supplier factories, okay? You gotta think of what they're doing here, because this is a critically important part. And the engineers from Foxconn and Pegatron work on process optimization through all their suppliers, okay? So here's your supply chain managers and your logistics from Federal Express, DHL, so forth. But in number 3 here, the second one, just-in-time manufacturing minimizes inventory costs by producing devices based on real-time demand. So like you order a phone, they manufacture it like right away. And so when you look and you see what you have to deal with is you have 5 million employees, all interconnected, all run by managers, no matter what the supplier is, all run by Apple managers to optimize manufacturing, quality control, and just-in-time delivery. Now, Apple's not stupid. They know what's going on, so they've been opening up these different component plants in Thailand and Malaysia. They've been nearshoring in Mexico with Foxconn and Pegatron. They make some Macs in Mexico. Problem is, they have higher labor costs, and 2, they use all Chinese components, all right? So they're under tariffs right now, all right? And again, they build the Mac Pro in Texas, but the labor costs are 5 to 10 times higher than China, and there's a lack of skilled electronic manufacturing workforces, all right? So as the CEO, you have some problems here. You have China's unmatched ecosystem. No other country has skilled labor and supplier network. Higher costs everywhere. Every place else is higher. Political risk in the new markets. India and China are not buddies, and yet we know that they want, I think, 20% of the Apple phone sales by 2030 out of India, okay? And so how do they control that if India and China don't get along? So as you can see, well, I was wrong here. 2025, 25% of iPhone production is in India. But there's something here that we should talk about. The biggest thing that we need to talk about is it doesn't matter. Look at the deal that America just signed with Vietnam. Anything that comes out of Vietnam is a 20% tariff. Anything that comes from China through Vietnam is a 40% tariff. So America is cutting off the ability to build in other countries than they did before. And I also say with the India production, they actually shut it down and left, but then it really fell apart in China because the Indian manufacturing capabilities were pretty bad, and the quality was low, so they decided to leave. Okay, as CEO of your company here, Apple, you can see you have some issues. One, this is not going away. It's only going to get worse, in my opinion, okay? And so as the CEO, here's the question I would like you to answer. You're either going to sell to America, Europe has different rules, at 35 million people, okay? Or you can adopt the Chinese software and the Indian software, and you can sell to basically 3 trillion people in China and India. What should you do? What do you think you should do? I know what I would do, but what would you do? Tell me in the comments and like and follow.